Hi, it's Tammy Buss from Blueroots, and you're listening to S.M.E Stories.
You are now listening to the next great small business podcast. Welcome to the S.M.E Stories podcast, where it is all about small businesses in Canada. And here's your host, Ken Alfred.
Hey everybody, thanks for on the show. We got a great episode today with Tammy Buss. Now, Tammy Buss is the founder and CEO of Blueroots. So a little bit about Tammy. Tammy Buss has helped hundreds of Canadian family businesses during her 30-year career. The founder and owner of Buss Financial Systems, educator, the author of Passing Down Your Success, host of the Business of Family podcast, and most recently the visionary of Blueroots. She has navigated the very issues she guides businesses through. With her client experience and trial and error in her own family, she has developed and redefined success business transition strategies and tactics focusing on opening up positive communication. All right, so we're going to have a very interesting chat with Tammy, and I think you're going to learn a lot. So sit back and absorb. All right, let's do questions from the industry now. So for this particular section, then, Tammy, so what is your opinion, I guess it's very broad, but the planning industry, and where do you think it's currently going?
Planning in general, I think, is an overused term. I think you have to be very specific on what that planning is. There's financial planning, there's estate planning, there's succession planning, there's every kind of planning. And really, it's a matter of what are you trying to accomplish and find somebody who's willing to help you with that. Because early on, financial planning is important, but that's a plan.
Mhm.
Like you should be receiving a document that outlines your plan. How are you going to get from A to B to C? Investments, looking at just investing, that's not a plan. But the plan is, okay, I want to do this and this and this within a certain period of time. Um, Estate planning is the ultimate disposition of your assets. But again, until you have a succession plan or a plan on how you're going to get out of your business, retire, whatever you're trying to do, you can't really do an estate plan until you know what's happening. So everything is one step, another step, another step. And I do think that anybody can use the word planner. That's they're trying to fix that a little bit now, but even at the general public wouldn't know the difference between an advisor or a planner and what that
Yeah.
means. But basically, a plan says you should have something in your hands, a document that says, here's where you are today, and here's where you want to go, and here's the steps you're going to have to take to get there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's good to know actually. So what are the common misconceptions when you tell people that you guys do different types of planning? Like I know on your website you do like estate planning, financial planning, and succession planning, all these different
Mhm.
plans there. So did you get any misconceptions when you first tried to tell people what you did?
Yeah, a little bit because, estate planning and succession planning are confused a lot. I think people understand financial planning is talking with numbers,
Hmm.
but estate planning and succession planning aren't necessarily numbers. It's about the assets themselves. And succession really is dealing with one element of that estate. So the business might be the largest asset you have, but it's really dealing with how are you going to move forward with that. The estate side is what are you doing with your estate after your passing? So, a succession plan is kind of why you're alive. What are you planning
Hmm.
to do? And the estate is when it's all said and done, where's it going and how's it going to get there? Right? That's
Interesting.
really the difference. So, understanding estate and succession are two completely different types of plans. You're dealing with one asset versus all of the assets.
Yeah, so I guess that's what most people really just don't know about it, right? Is that like you said, they like to use those terms interchangeably and
Mhm.
assume it's one thing when it's like something totally different. Then, so Tammy, you've been playing this game for a long time now. So
Mhm.
what has been your biggest failure, but also biggest success so far?
Ooh, that's a tough question. That's a tough
That's me,
question.
Tammy. I ask the hard questions here
That's
on the
hard
S.M.E Stories
questions.
podcast.
I think my biggest failure, to be honest, was not really discussing with my family what exactly I did, to get that buy-in from the family to understand what I did. I think that's probably the biggest downside, I think. My biggest success was realizing that I had a business and not a practice, that I'm not a solo entrepreneur. Because if you're a one person show, it's very difficult to be on all the time. You can't take holidays. You're on 24/7. So I did learn early that it's much better to build a team. And yes, you might not have a lot of money at the beginning, but you're still hiring because it will actually blow up. It will mushroom your business by having a really good team and paying that team well and have them understand what you do and staying in your own lane because we're all good at certain things and we're not good at everything. Although at the beginning we have to do absolutely everything, right? You
Yeah, absolutely.
used to
Yes.
have to do everything. But to understand what you're good at and to stay there and to hire the people around you to do the other work that they love to do is key. So that I learned very early on by working with a lot of businesses because I saw the success. I saw them growing and what they did to grow and hire the right people. That was my biggest success is doing that early on, and that was a even when I couldn't afford it. I mean, I was the one
Yeah.
not taking a paycheck because I was paying for, an assistant before I had the money to have an assistant. But having that assistant allowed me the time to go out and get more business or to network.
Yeah, or to free up your time, right? Because
Mhm.
I know before when I used to do a car detailing business in my garage, which is funny because I started off as a mobile detailer thinking I'll go to other people's homes. And I did this for several years. But funny enough, 99% of my clients just came to the house, just dropped their car off.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I
I think
remember,
it's a great idea. The mobile one is a great idea.
yeah, and that's the thing. I only did like maybe a handful of mobile jobs. Everyone else is like, yeah, we'll just drop it off at your house. Okay, sure. And that's what would happen. Had a contractor that helped me out. And, my kids were really young at the time. And, it was tough because I only can do it during the weekends because that's the way I kind of marketed. I didn't want to do it during
Mhm.
the week because I had my day job. And my kids, I just noticed they're like, you know, they saw me, but they're like, daddy's working on another car again. And it just was like, ooh, geez, that's really tough. I got to really start thinking about what I want to do. And physically, I can only detail a car for so long, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, my back, this 44-year-old back will go out eventually. But
It's
yeah,
funny how, you have the time and the energy when you're younger, and later on it's like, "Oh, I got the money now, but I don't have the energy."
yeah,
And
that's why
no
that's why
time.
could we have learned, like, could you and me learn, Tammy, how to do social media properly? I'm sure we could, but that's not going to be our strengths. Yeah.
No. If you were into marketing, like if you were out of school and marketing was your forte, absolutely, I think that's where you'd go because you would learn to do it with paper and ads, and then you'd slowly morph into, the social media side. But if you're good
Mhm,
at what you're doing, whether that be sales or accounting or legal, you're gonna change with the times, but you're
mhm,
still gonna stay in your lane. Right?
exactly.
Everybody has
Mm,
a lane. When you end up think about this, there's always stuff on your desk that gets left till the end because A, you don't like doing it. A, you're probably not good at it, right? But it's
yes.
important. But
Yeah.
the other stuff that you love to do, you do all the time.
Mhm.
Right? But if you're procrastinating for the other stuff, it's probably because you're not good at it and you don't like it. So get rid of that. Hire somebody who loves it. I had a person in one of my other companies um, that loved to input data all day long. It's all she would do. I could have poked my eyes out doing that, but she loved just to input data, sit in front of her computer, just input, just in her own little world, loved it. You're like, oh, I'd rather, cut
Yeah.
out poke myself in the eye rather than sit and input data. So that stuff would sit on your desk. So why not hire somebody who loves to do it? Frees up your time. You feel great because you're loving what you do. Your business
Absolutely.
is growing.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's why I always joke with my guests that if I win the lottery tomorrow, if I win the $70 million Lotto Max jackpot tomorrow, Tammy, I'd still be doing this for fun, right? I would,
Yeah.
like you said, hire a full-time editor, hire a full-time social media person, which I already do, but maybe I'll just hire another, like an assistant or a salesperson, to just really try to, find really cool guests and stuff like that to be on the show. And all I get to do is just this stuff, the fun stuff,
Yeah,
chatting with it.
absolutely. And there's people who hate doing this, who hate
Yes.
talking. Right? Like my
I'm
team
married to
that
one
I
of them.
have is
So
yeah,
yeah.
it's amazing. And they'll say, "Oh, where are you going? What's going?" And I said, "I don't know. That's not my job. My job is to actually deliver the
Mhm.
material. That's what I
Absolutely.
do best. I'm not going to make sure that it's printed and to make sure it all looks good on paper and that it's spell checked and, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. That's not my job.
Mhm.
My role is to get this information out there because I'm really good at visualizing what you're trying to do and how can I plan for that, and who do we
That's
need to involve in order to do that. And I
wow.
love doing
Nice.
that. It's the idea person, right? I love that.
Absolutely. All right, let's do our tips from the pro section here. So this is where we have some more specific questions related to your business that I received from some of the listeners here. So the first question is, okay, so I have to kind of broaden it out just a little bit. If you were to start over again, Tammy, which kind of planning that would you suggest someone who's just trying to get into it, whether it's financial, succession planning? Is there a proper niche to start with? Because I mean, you guys do almost all of it, but if you
Mhm.
had to pick one to start, which one would you start with first?
Well, I think if you're starting, and again, that's age dependent. I think if you're
Yeah.
young and starting out, I think financial planning to help others in that same age category understand what financial planning is. And that's preparing to be able to pay your mortgage, to get your kids through school, to save for your car, your house, whatever. That gives you a basics into planning. I think if you're older, even if you're newer into the industry, but a little bit of a older vintage, estate planning. Because the boomers, think about this, the youngest boomer is 60. There's going to be a lot of transitions of wealth and assets over the next 7 to 10 years. And it's estate planning that's really lacking, right? People just do a will and they leave it to, all their kids. And that's not the way to maintain cohesion in the family and have a really good legacy. So if you're younger, I say start in the financial planning. If you're older, go into the estate planning. And then succession planning, obviously, if you're in your 40s, because again, some of it is you don't want a 30-year-old coming into a 70-year-old telling them how to transition their business, right? It's again, you can talk to their kids about it, but they need somebody in their same age category that really understands what they're trying to do and
Mm.
has a little bit more tenure behind them, because you might be dealing with $1 million or $100 million of assets. And so I think it's good to be a little longer in the tooth when the estate planning side.
Yeah. No, no, that's a really good question because I think, I think a lot of people want to be everything to everybody, and it
Hmm.
doesn't really serve your clients well if that's all you're trying to go after is to do
Right.
everybody. You need to
Hmm.
really start to pick which ones you want to start with and then focus on those. And then you said slowly start to expand it out.
Hmm.
Right. So it's pretty interesting. So next question here is how do you keep updated in your industry? So what resources do you use? Do you use like you have a membership or is there any type of
Hmm.
market intelligence reporting, networking groups? How do you keep on top of the
Yeah.
industry?
Several things, actually. So, from an industry perspective, because I'm a trust and estate practitioner, I'm part of that association. Those associations also have CE requirements. So, I do have to keep up on that. I do go to the annual conferences. You get a lot of information. I do a lot of reading. Um, I do a lot, again, industry related things. I'm part of Enterprise Family Canada. I'm part in the US. So I'm really involved in the industry that I'm in because I want to keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening and what the problem is. So really, it's about being part of the associations. Also, I'm part of a couple of women's group, which are Women in Presidents organization, and also We Connect International, which is again women helping other women in industry. And we don't have a great reputation of being nice to each other. So it's really great to work with a bunch of women who really want to help and grow. And then mastermind groups. Again, it's because when you're an entrepreneur or you're the founder, you can't complain to your staff about the problems you're having. You need somebody who understands where you are. So even as a family business advisor, I don't want to be in a meeting with my clients talking to them about the issues that I'm having. So I really am part of another group because if you're a business owner, you have the same issues,
Mhm.
right? It's just a different product. If it's employees, if it's logistics, it's all social media. Everything is the same. It's just a different item that you're selling or working in.
Mm,
So really, I try to cover everything. So I want to stay close to the industry. I want to stay close to my designations to understand what's happening in the trust world, and because it's complicated, because it's all over the world, right? We're now so easily um, we have businesses all over and we're doing business in different countries. So we used to be just local. So really it's just about staying on top of the associations and going to the conferences
Hmm.
trying to keep up and do as much reading as I can.
Interesting. All right. Next question we have here is okay. For anyone who's trying to do any type of planning, whether, like you said, estate, financial, is there any special insurance that you actually have to attain when you're doing this?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So there's errors and omission insurance, so that if you err or forget something and it causes harm to the client you've been working with, then there's an errors and omission insurance that you have to have for that. So you have to have it for yourself, and then you have to have it for the company. So it encompasses everybody, and then everybody who's licensed or not licensed has different requirements within the company. So it becomes quite a big cost,
Mhm.
to make sure that you're all looked after.
Absolutely. I think it's just always to protect yourself from that perspective here. So,
Mhm.
okay, next question. Oh, this is an interesting one. What is your best strategy for dealing with difficult clients?
Oh my goodness. I just had one on the weekend. I got sent a bit of a note and got a nasty reply. Um, it's all good. They were in the wrong, thankfully. But I'll never get an apology from them, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, so the hard part with that, first of all, being a self-employed individual, having my own company, we can choose who we do business with. So we're not a large firm that we have to take on every client. So we do interview upfront. We just have that right fit meetings. We want to make sure it's a right fit meeting so we're a good fit for them. They're a good fit for us. So that's really super important. And that's another thing I learned early on is to not take everything with a pulse. At the beginning it's like you got a pulse, I'll take you as a client. Now it's being more selective and actually enjoying the work you do and being relevant to them as well as yourself. So difficult client, it's about understanding what happened. So really getting to the root of why are they being difficult? What did we not do right? What are we missing? To understand why we're in this position. So really, it's communication to understand, and a lot of times it's a combination of both people's fault. And
Mhm.
when it is, again, the client is always right. We want to help first. So we will try to find out what's gone on. The ultimate answer is if it doesn't work, we just fire them. We just
Yeah.
find a nice way to say, you know what, I don't think that this is working for either of us. We don't burn any bridges. We will find a way to let them go where it's almost like their own decision and
Yeah.
keep it in a very good relationship because we have over the years gotten clients back who we fired who've come back and said, you know what, we'd like to try this again, blah blah blah, whatever the issue was at the time. Is to understand that, and so it's to stay firm in who you are, to stick to your values. I think that is key, and just again find out what went sideways.
Well, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing too, right? I think sometimes having the pre-qualification, like you said, those
Mhm.
discovery calls that people have, and if you know for sure that this is probably not the best fit, leave as cordially as you can because hey,
Mhm.
no harm, no foul. I don't think we're a
Yeah,
great fit because
yeah.
the last thing you want is to either dread opening up your email Monday
Hmm.
morning
Oh, the
because
worst. Yeah.
you don't want that. You want to just come
No.
in and be like, all right, what's the fun? How's it going today? What could possibly go wrong? And you ever watch that show, The West Wing?
I've only seen a couple of episodes.
Oh my god, it's almost like we watched it, and for those who like the politics behind the drama stuff, that's a great show. This is done back in the late '90s, early 2000s,
Mhm.
but it's one of those things. When I used to watch those things with my wife, and we look at them like, they can never just have a good day.
No.
Everything is really bad,
No.
right? What else could possibly go wrong today?
Mhm.
Another war, another scandal, what? Nothing ever goes to the president where it's just like, oh, it's an easy answer. Because if it's
No.
easy, someone else is going to cover that. It's
Yeah. Yeah,
but
you're only gonna get the problems, right? You're gonna get the problems that can't be solved, and
yeah,
again, that's your responsibility as the, founder or the lead of the company is that
absolutely.
your team is gonna do their work, but you ultimately have to go in and, put out some major fires. But again, what you can do at the beginning is really qualify and say, "Here's the responsibility." And so our letter
Mm,
of engagement will say, "You are responsible for doing these things. So if you don't get us the information that we need, or you don't complete what needs to be completed, we can't move forward." Right?
mm,
So it's to understand, are you ready to do this now? You have to get buy-in from everybody, because if
yes,
you don't, then everybody's spinning their wheels and it's just frustrating. So you've ended up paying money for nothing or you've
exactly.
wasted time. So, and again, I think even if you're starting out, as a planner or whatever area you're in, or as an entrepreneur, is stick to your core values and be firm. And it's a
Mm.
hard thing to do when you're desperate for money,
Yes.
but it's better for you and your clients in the long run because you actually enjoy them and they enjoy working with you, and your reputation just, gets better and better as time goes by.
Nice. All right. Last question on Tips from the Pro here. So, what is the best billing practice for your kind of business? Is it a monthly retainer? Is it an hourly fee? Is it at the end when you deliver a project? What would you recommend would be the best billing practice for a new planner?
So we have a couple of different systems that we use, because when we put a consultant in in a firm to help with something specifically, that's a weekly billing. So we get paid at the end of the week. If we're doing like a discovery, so we do a couple of assessment tools and we do a discovery and we come back with a package, that's the recommendation. So in that case, we ask for 50% upfront and 50% on completion. And that's pretty much it. After that, then it's packages. So that could be monthly, or it could be they pay in advance. But nothing's ever to the very end, and
Mhm.
it's either upfront or very quickly paid out, because this is your time, and you have employees to pay, you have expenses to pay, so you can't carry it for a long time. And that's the best way. Again, that's years of experience. There's been many years that I never got paid because we wait till the end. So now it's 50% upfront or the weekly billing. So very quickly, if I've got a consultant in a firm and they don't pay, then we can pull them out. And so we've only
Mm.
lost a week or a week and a half at that point, right? So
Okay.
we're very much about making sure that it's the right fit for everybody and that they know that that is the way it is. And if they balk at the 50% upfront, they're probably not our ideal client.
Yeah. Like you said, no worries, no harm, no foul. That's all you have to
No,
be. So, all
yeah.
right. Actually, one last question on this one is
The last
one that
question.
last question on this one was like, well, how do you balance your work life as an entrepreneur?
Well, I've learned a lot over the years because at the beginning, uh, my kids would say to me, "You're always at work." Because I was. When you're building a practice or a business, you're at work 24/7. Your phone's with you. At that point, we didn't even have phones, but I was always at work. And then my husband, and you can't get those years back, by the way.
No.
Can't get those years back. But I did try to take off as much as I could and go on school trips and things like that with the kids. But a few years back, my husband said to me, "I'm not going on holidays with you anymore if you bring your phone." And I went, "Mm." He says, "You know what? It's no fun. It's no fun for me." And we've been married over 30 years, right? He says, "No fun for me when you bring your phone." And I thought, yeah,
Hmm.
okay, all right. And I have not regretted that since. So that being very disconnected when I'm disconnected. But what I did do early on, I would say probably 25 years ago, back before we had direct deposits into paycheck direct deposit, I only
Mhm.
had women working for me, and they were all younger and they had kids. And so I gave them every Friday afternoon off in order to go to the bank, deposit their check, go get their groceries, do whatever they needed to do. And I've maintained that for years. And now we work 4 days a week. And the Friday
Wow.
is you're on your own. However, you might do a little bit of work, but it's totally your call. There is no appointments booked, but if you need to catch up, that's up to you. And I've not found a change in production at all. Nothing. And we're on 4 day work weeks, and we've
And I
been.
don't see very many people raising their hands to say that, yep, I'm against this 4-day work week thing. I think for the majority of the people now, they love the idea of a
Mhm.
4-day work week because, the weekends fly by really fast, right?
They go
And
by fast. And
yeah,
you know what? They're working hard during the week. They're getting things done. And if they
yeah,
didn't get it done, they're going
it's
to
a different
finish it
story.
over the
Yeah.
weekend. That's just who your team is. But you know that you can do all your running around. If you need to take kids to the doctor, you need to go to the dentist, you're going away, you want to pack. Like it's really great. I have had no problems with that. And that was way before COVID. And I was very flexible even before COVID.
Mhm.
Um, so one of my staff today is actually at the hospital with her 2-year-old, and she's working,
Wow.
right? Like she's there, she's working away because he's sleeping, and she's got her laptop and she's working away. And it's like, hey, You know what? I know she's going to get what she needs done. I didn't ask her to take her computer there. I didn't ask her to answer emails and respond, but they feel that dedication. If you
Mhm.
have the right team and you give them the time, because how great would it have been to have 4 days, or sorry, 3 day weekend, particularly
Weekend,
when your kids were
absolutely.
little, right?
Oh, yeah.
And now
What
I
an
use
awesome.
that Friday to pick up my grandson, and, we pick him up Friday afternoons, and we keep him overnight. It's great. You're not
Wow.
running around like a chicken with your head cut off, right? You have the
Yeah.
time to do whatever you want in the morning, and then let's go pick him up. Have some
I
fun.
know. That's why my wife always gives me the weekends a little bit off, right? Because I'm with the kids pretty much Monday to Friday, and she does a lot of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I take my kids there as well. So on the weekends, sometimes it's more like, okay, tag, you're it.
You're it.
So that's why sometimes she doesn't even ask if I want to join them on a thing. She'll just take the kids and just do something, and I'm like, well, that's very much appreciated because sometimes all I need is just buy some Burger King and watch Law and Order
Yeah.
in the living room. That's all I need. Just
I
a
made a
quiet
murder, she
house
wrote.
or Murder She Wrote. Yeah, Angela
I love
Lansbury,
Angela Lansbury.
old
Honest to
school
God, there's
detective.
what? There's no real fighting, there's no swearing, there's no,
Yep,
like it's kind of fun.
she had a really cool typewriter. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, she
Aside
did.
from that, all right, let's do the rapid fire round now. This is going to be where more we talked a lot about serious stuff here, so we'll try to calm it down a little bit more and just ask some more fun stuff here. So, all right, Tammy, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What would the 15-year-old self be thinking you'd be doing now?
I'd be a lawyer,
Which kind of law?
criminal, and I'd be a prosecutor.
Nice. My son says he wants to do that now,
That
right?
was
And
what I wanted to do at 15.
he got it through a video game, Roblox, which I didn't even know that was a
Oh,
thing.
interesting.
Apparently there's a game where there's like a mini game within Roblox where you can be either a prosecutor or a defense attorney, and you're
Mm,
typing out what your arguments are, and I'm like, and the other players who aren't involved are the jury, and
yeah.
I'm like, really? My son's 10, so I don't know. Hey, I'm not gonna
Probably
say
by
no to that.
10, I wanted to be a geologist when I was 10, but at 15, I wanted to be a prosecutor.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty
Go
cool,
figure.
interesting. Well, now watching Law and Order, then yes, that's all I get to see is the prosecution side, so it's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So, all right, question number 2: would you rather wear a monitor that beeps when you're lying or when you're attracted to someone?
When I'm lying.
When you're lying, okay, perfect. Especially if you're with your significant other,
Yeah, I was gonna
definitely
say.
do not want that.
No.
Definitely don't want to touch out of the 10-foot pole. But yeah, all right. Worst sequel ever from a movie. So yeah, so worst movie sequel ever made.
Almost all of them.
Almost all of them.
Almost all of them. The first movies are always the best. The sequels are never quite the same.
I heard there was a running
So
joke that there was a running joke that Titanic was going to have a sequel, but I can't imagine how that would work. It
yeah,
arises
they're
again.
never quite the same, they're really not, and sometimes they've just outdone their their best before date. They should have stopped after the first one.
Well, yeah, like I think there's only a few exceptions. At least for me personally, I found that I like really stupid humor movies, right? So the original Austin Powers movie, okay, it was kind of funny.
Mhm.
Austin Powers 2, for some reason, I find that more entertaining than Austin Powers 1.
Yeah, okay.
But then
Now
when
I
they
think
brought in the but then when they brought in the third one, then it just yeah, well, went to
you
hell after
just lose it. Like, you can get maybe 1 or 2, but, like, Toy Story, I think, did really well till 4,
that. Yeah.
because our kids grew up with Toy Story, so I had to watch it 5,000,000 times, and, yeah.
We'll see. Now, listeners who are just listening to this, yeah, Moana's coming out in November. We'll see. I don't know, Tammy. What do you think? You think Moana 2 is going to surpass Moana 1 in terms of they may do it from money, from dollar wise, but do you
Oh,
think
I
it'll be
think that's all
better?
it is. That's why, you keep going on and on and on and on, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a franchise. Now, I mean, you take the Marvel series, okay, yeah, there's a lot of different ones there, so they're not really the sequels,
Yeah.
but you talk at, like, Austin Powers or those type, even, where the parent and the mother switched
Freaky
ages,
Friday or Magic
something like that,
Freaky
and
Friday. Yeah.
there's another one coming out, the sequel coming out on
Oh,
that. I'm like, "Oh, really?
yes. It was like
Really?"
Lindsay Lohan and Jamie
Linds
Lee
That's
Curtis,
it,
I believe.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Jamie
I
Curtis
remember
and
that.
Lindsay Lohan. Whatever that is, I'm thinking, "Oof, eesh, I'm not sure."
Well, yeah, and then there's sometimes they do remakes of stuff that I don't know why they did stuff, and they went through the TV series of that too. Don't get me wrong, I loved Frasier when I was a kid. I haven't seen the new reboot of Frasier. Apparently, Will
Oh,
and Grace has also done a reboot.
oh, I didn't know
Obviously,
that.
yeah. Apparently, there's also like Full House or Fuller House, and I think people are familiar
Oh,
with
yeah.
that one.
Just leave them. Come up with a new
Yeah,
idea.
Well, that's what the issue
Call it
was.
something else.
Exactly. Creative stories of something new. If you want to have a character show up in it, okay, fine,
Mhm.
but don't make that be the main one. And
Like,
a
think of,
show,
like,
yeah.
Three's Company. Remember Three's Company?
Oh
Kinda
yeah,
like
I
the
had
Will
it.
and Grace, right? The people living together, the cookie
Yes,
neighbor, like, okay, you're good there's only so many different storylines.
yeah. They even redid Mad About You, and I remember that show from the
Oh,
early
yeah.
'90s as well.
Yeah.
I still have to watch it. I'm like, I heard it's good, but
Well,
apparently
I
it's only
watched
good for one
Magnum,
season. Magnum
Magnum
PI.
PI when it was,
Oh,
first came
Tom
out.
Selleck.
I could not watch the reboot of it
I
because I
Yeah, I
kept
couldn't do it.
thinking of the first one, and it's like, "Yeah, this isn't you need to change it. Call it something
Yes,
else."
exactly. All right. Last couple of questions we have on this one here. We already talked movies to death on this. All right. I always ask these same two questions for this rapid fire round. If you could have a sandwich named after you, what would be on it and what would you call it?
Ooh, I want a hero sandwich, and I want just about everything on it except onions.
Everything except onions.
Yeah,
And you would call it this
yeah.
hero sandwich?
I don't know what it would have to be I want hero because I want to be somebody's hero, really. I want to
Mm,
be the helper. Maybe it's the helper. Maybe it's the helps first sandwich.
the helpers put on a shirt.
Helps
I like
first,
that.
and you just load it up.
Yeah.
Load it up.
Everything just except onions.
Except onions. Lots of pickles or green olives would
Right.
definitely be on there.
I like having sandwiches that have a crunch to it.
Ooh, oh, maybe a grilled helps first sandwich. I
There
like
we go.
grilled sandwiches. Then you definitely
Me
need
too.
cheese, and then you can't put much on it because then it just
Yeah.
is not quite the same.
Well, one time my wife told me she was like, when she was in university, she was saying that, oh, what'd you have for lunch today? Oh, bread and water. I mean, bread and water. I mean, you didn't even toast it? No, just cold bread and water. Just I'm like, yeah, no, you need to eat
No,
some
I
food.
need toast. I toast
Yeah,
everything.
exactly. Toast. I mean,
Yeah,
toast with butter. That's still something. But
yeah,
bread and water, I'm like, cold bread, glass of water. Just get a glass of milk or something. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, something.
But
Need some flavor there. There's no flavor.
yeah, and the funny thing too, Tammy, when I asked this question about the sandwich, you know who stresses out the most answering this question? Chefs.
Oh, yeah,
I've had a couple
yeah,
on. They were stressing on this, and I don't know why. It's like I'm like,
yeah.
it's you're not actually making this sandwich to market. This is just a fun question. Just what do what do you like, right? So
Yeah,
okay.
no, I think you gotta load it up with meat and cheese and veggies and, but leave out
Oh,
the onions.
forgot to ask you what kind of bread?
Rye,
Oh, I like rye. That's a nice one.
definitely
All
rye.
right.
Mm.
Excellent. The helper sandwich. Got it. All right. Last question on the rapid fire round here. What is your theme song and why? So you're walking down that street, that song hits, everybody knows Tammy's coming.
Oh, there's a couple.
All right, lay it on me.
For work one, it's "She Works Hard for the Money,"
Ah, love that
Donna
song.
Summers,
Yes.
right? And that's kind of like the beginning of our podcast is that kind of a vibe to it. But I'm a big old-time country music. So, I'm old time. So, if anybody here comes into my kitchen, I'm cranking the old country music for sure. Like George Strait, like those
George.
type of
Oh, okay.
and, George Jones and Tammy Wynette, like all those old ones, because my grandfather listened to them all. It just reminds me of my childhood, and he was always in the kitchen, so, I always have that kind of music on when I'm in the kitchen.
Well, yeah, and the funny thing too is that I mean, I like old country music as well. I mean, I like Dolly Parton, Jolene. That's one of my. I love that song. I thought it was a really cool song. I remember learning about music, watching those Time Life classic infomercials. If you remember them from the past, where it's
Mm,
like 300 songs of the 70s or 80s or 90s, and you just hear just the chorus of it, right? Because it's a running commercial. You see all these names of the songs that I got my kids so into it now. My kids can listen to some old music and
mhm.
actually sing along. They'll sing to Chicago, they'll sing to the
Oh,
Beatles,
yeah.
they'll sing to all that stuff, and
I
they still
listen
love
to
the
it
Taylor
all.
Swift. And
Yeah,
it's a really cool thing to appreciate,
yeah.
some of this stuff, because I think my daughter was there, and I was like understanding it. And don't get me wrong, Rihanna, really great for you, very happy for you. What the hell's that work, work, work song? I still have no clue what that's about.
I don't know.
Right?
It's
Majority of the songs it's
interesting.
her saying work, 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 work. And I'm like, and I'm listening to like Queen Bohemian Rhapsody. If you take a look at the lyrics of it, I'm like, that's a different type of thing. And this is work, 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 work. And I asked my dad, what is she exactly saying? Because I don't follow.
Well, a lot of the old songs had good lyrics, like, some of
Yes.
the old songs that I absolutely love, I'd listen to over and over and over again are, Rose Colored Glasses, um, the He Stopped Loving Her Today, and Harper
Mm.
Valley PTA. I love those 3 songs. I listen to them over and over again. But interesting, when our boys were young, our road song, our in the car, our road trip song was, Fool's Overture.
Oh.
Fool's Overture. At the beginning of the bells, the ringing of the bells
Mhm.
when,
Mm.
Churchill's talking, we would crank that up, and the whole car would be rocking, and it's about 11 minutes long, that whole song. We would listen to
Yeah.
that over and over and over again. So we only ever called it the bell song. And it was, crank that up and just listen to it. Do, 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 do. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So awesome, awesome chat on that one. So, just so last few listeners can hear this, where can people reach out to you?
They can reach out to us, through our website, which is Blueroots, Roots, Blueroots, .ca. They can, email at info@blueroots.ca. Yeah, they can find us online, follow us on LinkedIn, DM me on LinkedIn. It's Tammy Buss. So yeah, lots of ways to get a hold of us. Nobody ever calls anymore, so it's
Yeah.
all about emails or direct messages.
Well, yeah, I've seen one that actually gave out a phone number, which is really weird, but okay. And
Yeah.
any final advice you want to give the listeners on whether they want to start their business or they're currently in the middle of doing their business?
You know what? The big thing is communicate, but also get help. There's a lot of people out there willing to help and listen, be part of a group, and get advice from people who have been there and done it. No point in making the same mistakes over and over again. There's a lot of help out there, people who really want to help you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Tammy. This was an awesome conversation.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me.
Hey, do you need an error-free website? Do you need transcriptions that's accurate and on time? Would you like to remove noise from your video or audio recording? Do you need a spokesperson for your business? If so, we can help. At Northway Capital Group, we are happy to announce that we are now providing website testing services, audio transcriptions, and audio cleanup, as well as spokesperson services. We would love to help you on your next project. Contact us for more information at northwaycapitalgroup@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening to the S.M.E Stories podcast, which is owned by Northway Capital Group. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Northway Capital Group.